Hello. Today I'm going to look at where we can find seeds. It's now winter, and that's why I've come indoors. But winter is actually a very good time to plan for springtime. It's the moment where we're looking through catalogues and on the internet for seeds to grow in the springtime. So, where can we find seeds? Now, what I've done is I've put together a little list of suggestions. It's not exhaustive, but it gives us an idea of where we can get those sought after seeds for growing when the weather starts to warm up. I've divided it into two sub-lists. First sub-list is seeds for free, and then the second one is the list where we can actually buy seeds. So let's kick off with the free list. Now, in our green spaces, even if we don't plant anything, seeds will be blown in by the wind or deposited by birds and other animals. So a little bit of bare soil will eventually be populated with lots of wild plants, or maybe not wild plants, maybe some what we call domesticated plants, which have found their way somehow into our soil. Now, apart from those, there are other sources of free seeds. So, for example, the plants you already have in your green space will often produce seeds, which you can then replant elsewhere. So, in effect, you are multiplying the number of plants in your garden from the plants in your garden. Another source is friendly neighbours. I exchange quite regularly plants and seeds with my neighbours, and it's a good way of increasing certainly the variety of plants that you have in your garden, and again, it's free. Other things are, for example, garden clubs. Often at garden clubs, people are exchanging seeds and plants. So again, often a very good source of free plants. Now, there's another source which we may not think of too often, and it's this: food. The things we buy are often sources of seeds or can be planted to produce more plants at home. So let's look at a couple of examples. Here I have a humble tomato. Now this is full of seeds, and if you have any seeds left over after making your salad, perhaps on the chopping board, you can dry them and save them and plant them in springtime to produce tomatoes. Free plants. Quite often you'll get some rather interesting surprises at what kinds of tomatoes that will produce. But hey, that's very much part of the fun. I always recommend buying organic produce, of course. That way you'll have less nasty surprises than buying stuff which has been covered in pesticides and so on. Another example I have here on this idea of using things you bought for food. Here is a potato, and as we can see, it's pushing up little shoots here, and this is how we produce potato plants. Normally we actually plant in the ground what we call a seed potato, which is this potato with little buds on it, and that potato will produce a potato plant which will then produce lots of potatoes. So again, particularly if you have a potato where it's not looking too great, maybe got a little mouldy area here, you can chop off that area and keep the healthy part, and even if you're not going to eat it, you can certainly plant it to produce more potatoes that you can eat in a few months' time. There are lots of other examples from food. I can think of various squashes, melons, pumpkins, things like marrows, peas, beans, fruit like apples, pears, stone fruit like cherries and peaches and so on. The list is fairly long. So there we have, again, plants from food. Now, another source which you may not think of very quickly, and it's something which is maybe a surprising source of seeds, is markets and supermarkets. Now, I don't mean you go there and buy various vegetables or fruit, but often, for example, at the end of a market, there will be a number of fruit and vegetables lying around in crates or on the ground which haven't been sold. These are simply considered to be rubbish or trash to be thrown away. But if a tomato is squashed, or we have a pumpkin which doesn't look too great, it doesn't really matter as far as we're concerned, because we want the seeds. We don't want to eat them. So what we can do is we can collect these vegetables or fruits that are lying around, remove the seeds and plant them. And of course, again, that costs nothing. What else can I think of? This one. This is an idea where I sort of have to put a couple of little provisos on this. You can go out into the wild and collect wild seeds from wild plants. Now, obviously, where you live, depending on the jurisdiction of where you live, you have to ensure that you have permission, you're not trespassing on people's private land, you're not collecting protected species of plants, and you're not completely denuding the wild areas near where you live of all their seeds. But with a certain amount of common sense and a sense of responsibility, you can collect certain wild seeds of things which are very abundant and often considered as weeds. For example, near where I live, at the roadside, I have collected poppy seeds, which are certainly considered a weed by the farmers around here, but I find it's actually a beautiful plant, and it has found its place in my garden, and as I said, it costs nothing, and it certainly has no negative impact on the wild population of poppies around here. So that is our list, an inexhaustive list of free sources of seeds. So now let's look at some of the sources of seeds where, in fact, we're going to pay money. Where can we spend our hard-earned money to buy seeds? Well, the obvious answer is the local garden centre. What I'd recommend, if you have a local independent garden centre, that's a very good place to spend your money for buying seeds and plants. Not only are you obtaining the seeds or plants that you want, but you're also helping the local economy. And if it is a local business, they will know what does and doesn't grow in your locality, which is rather important, because planting things which are going to basically die because it's either too hot or too cold where you live is very much a waste of time and money, and can cause a lot of heartache. Other sources where we can buy our seeds are things like country fairs, car boot sales, house sales, and things like this. Sometimes you'll find stalls where people are selling plants and seeds, and that again can often be a very good source of plants that we want in our gardens. Another one, apart from garden centres, they don't have a monopoly on seeds. Often, particularly in springtime, you'll find that supermarkets, DIY shops and so on will sell seeds too. So again, another possible source of seeds. Now we get to a couple of other things. If you're looking for very specialized seeds or rare plants or particular varieties which are possibly difficult to find, internet, of course, is a great place to look around for certain types of plants. There are lots of specialists who specialize in particular types of plants, such as roses, for example, or heirloom ancient varieties of vegetables. So again, there are specialist sites there. But also on internet, we've got some rather surprising places to find seeds. People like eBay and Amazon and lots of these other rather large internet retailers often have a surprising selection of seeds and plants too. So there, as I've said, not an inexhaustive list of places to find free plants or free seeds, or obviously places where you can buy seeds or plants. But at least that's given an idea of possible places to find these things. I'm sure there are plenty of other sources that I haven't mentioned, but at least that gives us a little kind of overview and maybe gives people a few more ideas that maybe they hadn't considered previously. So there we are. So spring is coming, so I just want to wish you happy seed hunting.